I am the current board president of AWC. So I want to welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is our first program of the year. So I'm currently the Deputy Director of Marketing for SIU School of Medicine in my day job. So I wanted to just introduce myself a little bit and say hi. And then we're going to get to our program, which is Data-Driven Marketing, a Holistic Approach. So we have Barnabas Helmy joining us from his home office, it looks like, on the video. So thanks for joining us, Barnaby. A couple of housekeeping items before we turn it over to him. First and foremost, I wanted to welcome everyone. We're happy to see kind of a bunch of new faces, so this is great. Glad to see our fellow communicators here and joining us on your lunch break. Feel free to eat. If your video is off, you know we won't hear you, so it's fine. A couple of logistics: this event is being recorded and we will make it available to all AWC members on the member portal. So if you're unsure how to log in, feel free to reach out to one of the board members and we will figure that out for you. We're going to mute everyone during this presentation. So if you want to put any questions that you might have for Barnabas in the chat, that would be the best way to reach out if you have a question during the presentation. And we will be asking Barnabas those questions at the end of the presentation. So let's go ahead and get to the program. Our presenter is Barnabas Helmy, owner of Barnabas Helmy Design and co-founder of Smash Toast, which is a startup focused on digital connectivity products. Their core product, called Puck, has been featured at Consumer Electronics Show. A renowned artist, graphic designer, and web designer, he has learned the art of making function look good. His expertise in practical digital marketing and digital or data analysis methods are crucial to his success. So Barnabas, I'm gonna turn it over to you now. If you wanna go ahead and share your screen and get started.
All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and share my full screen and then hopefully, there we go. So thank you for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Barnabas Helmy and I'm an entrepreneur. So a lot of what I do, if it's product design or if it's helping clients, revolves around data-driven marketing and making sure that what I'm doing, especially as a startup company, that I'm getting the best bang for my buck. So, since the early days of when I used to work on political campaigns and using data to help drive, to sell client or people basically, and now I use it to sell products, and it's really the same idea. And with that, I always tell people, there's several elements to data-driven marketing. It's not just a single, it's not just about the website, and it's not just about putting, a pixel or if you want to call it cookies on your website. It's making sure that your website is really the storefront, but underneath it all, you're able to connect that to your social media accounts and use it really as the focal point for your goals, whatever they may be. So if you're we'll say, if I'm trying to sell my puck on my website, I want to do a Facebook ad, but really I want to sell it through my website. And I actually have it go to Amazon for my sales, which, it's Amazon, you can't put pixels or anything on there, but how I capture that data is to send a Facebook ad to my website, but that redirects it to Amazon. And by doing that, I'm able to say that someone looked at my ad, they clicked on it and went to my website and to the checkout page. Now, if I was selling it direct on my website, I'd be able to track someone who looked at my ad, clicked on it, went through the purchase process, and actually gave me, which is my goal, a conversion. And that's where the importance comes from, being able to really understand that your ad is effective, which is different from, I guess I would say the old style of marketing, which was, a room of ideas and we've got the perfect ad, after iterating it and doing all this sampling of viewers outside, like real people, and having them look at it, and you're never actually launching the ad until you launch it, right? You put it out there and then you get to see. Well, one of the advantages of my methods is you're not really worried about the creative as much as the response from people. And we'll get to that, like A/B testing. You know, you can see what people actually want and adjust your ads to that. In the collection aspect, I went over cookies, you know, and if you're not familiar with what a cookie is, Facebook calls it a pixel. It is basically a little bit of code that is you embed on your website, and it calls back to a service. So when someone visits your website, there's a little cookie attached to it, and a lot of, I know, European market now, it requires you to say, hey, I've got a cookie on my website. Is it okay with you? And if you say yes, so what it does is your browser then says, hey, you can track me. And wherever you go after that, while your browser's open, you're being tracked. So whether you're, you know, visiting Facebook, or you're visiting, you know, a shopping center, online shopping, or anything else, it's tracking you across those things unless you specifically say no. It's super creepy, and I'm going to get to the creepy part as well. But that's essentially what it is. So like in Google Analytics, you know, you can tell the demographic data of individuals, but it's sending all that information back to Google.
Hey, Barnabas.
Yes.
It's looking like, well, maybe it's me. It says my internet connection is unstable. Never mind. I'm going to let you keep going. I lost your audio. I lost audio from you, so I don't know if anyone else is experiencing that, or if it's just me. Then I'll stop. Sorry.
No, if that happens, let me know, and I'll I have a fix for it here at my house. So.
Okay.
All right. And I will confuse people. I know this, because I do this a lot. So, you know, feel free to ask questions throughout, and I'll try to answer them. Okay, good. And I'll try to answer them the best I can. But I'm really giving you an overview of how this all works. So URL tagging is another method of tracking your ad within something like Google Analytics. You append a little bit of code at the end of whatever link you're sending someone to. And you'll see this a lot if you share a link with someone, and it's like, okay, it's the longest link in the world for an image, right? But behind it, you'll see like a question mark, equals, and all this garbage behind it. That is a URL tag that says, it's got information in it that says, you know, this was an ad set up by Barnabas Helmy Design, and I'm using this variation of it, and maybe this is the yellow version of it. So in Google Analytics, I can tell where that ad came from that people are using to visit my website, if that makes sense. And we'll get more into that in a little bit. Facebook marketing setup. I always urge people to set up a business.facebook account rather than using a Facebook page to just kind of blindly promote things. And they are giving a lot more access to people on the Facebook page side, but I do urge people to take the time to set up a business.facebook.com account. And finally, using mailing lists like MailChimp or Constant Contact to build, you know, a really dedicated user list. And mailing lists, email lists, there are a lot of rules in there, you know, prohibiting people from spamming and whatnot. So you got to be careful and groom your list carefully. But once you do have a really good email list, those are pretty dedicated customers. And again, that can all link back to the website. So all these things are sharing data with your website, which essentially you. Now I'm going to get into what a lot of people do, and I'm using you know, Trump's campaign as an example, his website. These are cookies. So when you visit this website, you'll see all these different things that are tracking you, okay? And all those companies are essentially selling data. So they're selling your data. So wherever you go after that, they're able to track that. And it can be really creepy. And I urge people, you know, when you're doing this stuff, keep in mind that, you know, privacy, you know, as a company, as a hardware company, I am very much like, if you're inviting me into your home, I'm not going to go through your drawers, your personal stuff. So I feel the same way with a company, and I think we all need to keep that in mind as we're doing this stuff. And just because we don't get access to the data, these companies do. So they're selling it, and they're selling a lot of it. And that's, been a critical fire point for a lot of people. So, and I think it's only going to become worse. So I think it's good to keep in mind, don't flood your website with cookies. And if also, I tell a lot of political campaigns, if you're going to, use Squarespace, if you're not going to use your own and build your own website, and you're using third parties, and then you link another third party to it, and hey, I'm going to have this person do my advertising, and I'm going to have this radio station, and they need to put something on my website. These will populate quickly, and it's easy to lose trust, and it'll make your website slower. You can do it all yourself and minimize the amount of data being collected by third parties. I urge you to do that. So going into the Google Analytics and how to set up that, you can go to analytics.google.com. And this gives you information on visitors who are coming to your website. I just put in a little map here to show you kind of what you can see from an example. You can, it's pretty simple. Most websites will just ask you for a tracking ID, and you can put in this UA number in there. If you're building your own website, or if you're familiar with that stuff, this global site tag here will need to be embedded in your header code. I don't expect most folks to know what that is, but that's really what the cookie entails on your web code. So you put that on your website, and then you can go in and set up dashboards and create regular reports that can automatically email out to you. I like every Monday to get all my website reports in and go through them and see if there are patterns, really looking for patterns in there. Here's a URL tag example. There's Google, I think Google has a website, but a lot of ad company, like Facebook and stuff, will help you build one of these. You can see the question mark, UTM source. This is saying that the ad came from Facebook. It's a cost per click. I put these variables in here. It's a cost per click. That's kind of the campaign variable I'm using. And it's Barnabas Helmy design, puck, sales, launch. That was the name of the ad. You'll notice that now probably when you start getting long links from people. These are just so the advertiser can get a little bit more information about where it comes from. And then when we get to the Facebook business side of it, I tell people, set up that business account. They'll walk you through creating and installing a Facebook pixel. It's very similar to the Google Analytics code. So if you can put that on your website, it will allow you to link your Facebook ad to what your website's doing. And then you can share, it's conversions. It really improves your ability to market and target. You can build audience insights. So you can say, okay, what kind of people have been visiting my website, and can I build an audience out of that, right? You can upload things like your MailChimp list. So if you have a nice list of people, then Facebook will creepily analyze that and create an audience for you. Now, we don't get that kind of information anymore. They used to, but obviously they've been under a lot of scrutiny about their data sharing practices. So they have it, and they will build a custom audience for you based on things that you already have prepared. My preferred method, what I really like to do, is A/B test. And I don't know how familiar you are with A/B testing, but it's a very critical part of my advertising. And as I was saying, it's taken the place of having to brainstorm a perfect ad. One of the things I like to do is launch probably like 4 or 5 ads initially, okay, and put a budget of, let's say, $100 over a week. And in the first day, I'll have 5 ads. They all look exactly the same. They may all have the same image. Let's say they're all the same ad, same words, same audience, and we're changing the image in each one. Okay, so everything is exactly the same except for the image. And I'll run those for a day at maybe $25. And if I can get to 1,000 impressions, which is a statistically relevant number, we can start drawing conclusions based on which ad performed better. So after day 2, I may take the best ad and then duplicate it 5 times with that new picture. And then in there, I may change the headline for each ad, and then run those for a day at $25 a day. And then we'll see which ad performed the best. We'll pull it and create another 5 ads. And at that point, maybe I'll adjust the audience a little bit. So as long as you're changing one variable, you can draw some really great conclusions and get your costs down astronomically. And as an example, I have a yellow ad I use for Puck, and it's still the best performing ad. I think it cost me less than 2 cents to get someone to click on it. It's exactly the same as many other ads I did, except the background was yellow. That was it. That was the only difference. And people just reacted to it better, like astronomically better. And the more you're willing to, nerd out with the data, the better your ad's going to perform overall. And I really think, we all think we have a great idea in our heads, but there's nothing better than testing it against a real live audience. And then, after maybe you spend $100 on it, you can take what you've created there and launch it under a real budget and draw conclusions from it. Now, this one is more for whenever I'm doing political clients. But if you are doing something that has to do with social issues, elections, politics, housing, employment, or credit, you now on Facebook, you have to confirm your identity. And by confirming it, you'll have to upload 2 forms of identification, so a passport and a driver's license. It takes time. That's why I say patience is a virtue. You have to do that and just get through it. If you want to run an ad at the last minute, you're out of luck, because it's going to take you a good week to get this stuff set up generally. Not only do you have to do that, but if you have a page, then you have to set up a disclaimer on there. And if you're a political action committee, you have to put in your FEC number as well and have that confirmed. And then they create an archive of all your ads underneath there for the public to see, which I think is a good thing. I think more of that should happen, but it does take time. So again, if that's your stick, keep that in mind. And then emailing forms here, this is kind of what I love about MailChimp, and I'm much more familiar with it than Constant Contact, but I'm able to, see the open reports. You can see who's opened it. You can see where that they've actually forwarded it onto. You can tell, you can start building up and tagging your customers. Who are the better ones? Who are your evangelists? Again, like Google Analytics, and if you've got it tied to it, you can see where they're opening these from around the country or cities. And so you're able to drill down on that aspect of it. So once you've started doing your A/B testing and you've got all your pixels set up, then you can start interpreting the data. You can start looking for patterns in it. Here's a view of Google Analytics. You can I say strongholds, demographic strongholds, and you can create goals based on analyzing that data. Here, I believe this was from a college. I maintain the website. It's some historical data, and you can see the website visits vary greatly. And I believe most of these peaks have to do with, I think it's a Thursday, and sometimes I believe a Monday, but usually it's a Thursday. And part of our what we drew a conclusion was a lot of students were trying to get their work done before the weekend, right? So they're going back to the website and getting that done, and it just was pretty accurate over time, which is a great time to take advantage of that activity on the website. So those are kind of things you can look for if you're going to create an ad. That's a great day to launch it, right? If people are going to be active. Interpreting the data. This is where it does get a little mathy, sorry, but I find this is where you can actually predict how much your ad's going to cost. The variables you really need to understand are right here. And this is in your Facebook ad. We'll show you these if you're in the business.facebook view. I believe you can see it on the regular Facebook page too, but I cannot confirm how much data they give you there. Just something to keep in mind too, if you do that promote an ad from your Facebook page, Facebook did actually say in one of their conferences that they are kind of mimicking cigarette companies in that first taste, you get the most nicotine in your system, and the more you smoke, right, it takes you more to feel the buzz. So they start their ad campaigns, if you blindly promote it, with a really, really great result, knowing that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get some great sales here. And then you keep pumping money into it, but they lower your result rate. It's pretty awful. But that's, you know, if you're not looking at the data, you don't really have an argument. However, on the business.facebook side, they did that to me once. And well, I wouldn't say they did that to me. I found a discrepancy in the data that was showing that my ads were not producing what was expected and what they should. And I was able to get a pretty substantial refund. So it's it's worth understanding these results. That is a variable metric for whatever you're doing with your campaign. If you just want people to click on your ad, then that is your result, right? Link clicks. If you were set up with all the cookies and you have, I want to sell a ticket. So you put an ad on the website or on Facebook, someone sees it, they click on it, they go to your website, they buy a ticket, then you can get that conversion back here and say, okay, you've got one result, one ticket sale. And that will be your result metric. Your reach is the amount of individuals that have seen your ad. So 859,000 individual people have seen this ad. The frequency is how many times those individuals have seen the ad. So on average, each person has seen it 2.14 times. It may be on Facebook, it may be on Instagram, it may be in the audience network, but on average, each individual has seen it 2.14 times. You multiply those and you get the impressions here. The impressions is how many times your ad has been seen. So it's not individual people, it's the number of time eyeballs have seen your ad. The CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions, is how much on average did it take for 1,000 eyeballs to see your ad. In this case, it's $6.37. Clicks, pretty self-explanatory there. How many people clicked on it. And then CTR is the click-through rate. That is the percentage of times the ad was seen and clicked. It is just coincidence that this is the same number as the frequency, so don't try to draw any conclusion there. And then the CPC is how much did it cost me to get someone to click on it, okay? And you should get this so you can look over all this stuff for those definitions. Once you collect the data and interpret it, well, let's launch an ad with a budget that will accomplish our goals, whatever they may be. So I'm gonna end my presentation here with two different examples. The first ad campaign is pretty simple. We're gonna show an ad to 35,000 people. And I wanna know how much is it gonna cost me? I get this question from clients all the time. So what do you want? And then we do the backwards math after the, the A/B testing. So you want 35,000 people to see an ad. The frequency is 2.14. So we're going to multiply 35,000 people times 2.14, and we're going to get approximately 75,000 impressions. Okay. That's what we're going to be paying for, 75,000 impressions. We can divide that by CPM, right? Cost per 1,000 impressions, so that we can just multiply that. So 74.9 is what we get after dividing it by 1,000, and we multiply that times the cost per 1,000. And we can draw a conclusion that this ad, to get my ad to be seen by 35,000 people, it's going to cost me $477. Okay. Does that make sense? I hope. Now we're going to get to a little bit more complicated one. I want to sell 100 tickets, and I want to sell them at $100 a ticket. if we want this, and we have to have the the Facebook pixel set up on our website, or we have to know what our website conversion rate is through Google Analytics or some other. But by that, I mean, if we have, let's say we have a 2% conversion rate and you have your website dialed in, you know, and what really matters here is minimize the amount of clicks that it takes to get someone to accomplish your goal. Look at Amazon. When you find an item, you just swipe on your phone and it's purchased, right? It's the simplest, it is the gold standard, right? It's the simplest way to check out, in my opinion. If your website, you know, nobody's website is that efficient, but it usually is like 4 or 5 clicks just to get to the purchase, right? So to get 2 out of 100 users on there is ambitious if you have a pretty heavy website, but it is doable, 2%. So we're going to say we have a 2% conversion rate. People that visit the website, 2% of them purchase our tickets. So in order to sell 100 tickets, we're going to divide that by 0.02. We need to direct 5,000 people to our website. Okay, or I should say 5,000 visits, not people. 5,000 visits to our website. We have a click-through rate on our ad. So we need, you know, our ad has to send 5,000 people. If our ad is 2.14% click-through rate, then we are going to need to have 233,000 impressions in order to get 5,000 of those impressions to click and go to the website. I know it sounds complicated. And then we want to find out how much that's going to cost us. We divide it by 1,000 so that we can multiply it times our CPM. And it's going to cost us $1,490. That's what we can conclude from that. Or there is another method, an easier method. We know we need 5,000 visits to the website from our web conversion rate. We're going to take 5,000 clicks times our 30 cents cost per click, and we get 1,500. Those numbers, they're kind of a way to dual validate what you need. Obviously, they're very close. So we know that that's going to be a budget that we need to sell 100 tickets. And, you know, if we're just spending $1,500 to make 10,000, that's not bad, you know, but it's often the case that when you start realizing the numbers, you just realize that this is not worth it. And it happens a lot, and it can be disheartening, but it can also keep you from wasting your time, right? In a lot of ways. I have a question here. Do you get these benchmark numbers cost from your early phase ad testing? Yes, this is what I draw these conclusions from, is whenever I get statistical, like above 1,000 impressions, I start drawing those conclusions on them. And about $100 of A/B testing will get you numbers that you can use to predict what you're spending and how much it's going to cost you. So yeah, great question there. And that is my final slide. So I probably have made most of your heads hurt, but I would love to answer any questions you have and see if I can help any of you get there. But hopefully I've given you a broad understanding of how this all works. And I'd be happy to take questions. Okay, so the first question I see is, early on I mentioned redirecting from my website to Amazon in Facebook ads. So yeah, great question. So in my website, on my website, I have a redirect plugin. I use a WordPress framework, and then I have a redirect plugin. So I use it for a lot of different things for my app. Okay, so basically I have a fake page that's set up as getpuck.com/Amazon. Okay, and that Amazon gets redirected to Amazon, the puck on Amazon, whether it's puck 1, puck 2, or my upcoming product. I can switch that out. There are several things that link to that redirect. In my app, I have a link in there, get puck. In my ads, I can have a link to get puck / Amazon. So people, I use that redirect as a way to point my sales wherever I need them to go, and for the product. So that's whenever I make a Facebook ad, if I don't really care if they go to my website, I just want them to go straight to the purchase page. But I want to know if they actually did that. I will put up an ad that goes to getpuck.com/Amazon. So they are first visiting my website. I'm able to get that information with the pixel, and then they go on to Amazon. But because they went to my website and got redirected, I'm able to capture that data. Next question is, how does GDPR impact your tracking? Also with GDPR, what are you doing differently because of it? Fantastic question. And this is, like I said earlier about the privacy stuff, I do take it very, very seriously. Even though I know how all this stuff works, I'm actually in the process right now. I'm just testing the latest version before I launch it out, push it out. But an update to my app. I've removed all tracking from it. There was something called Crashlytics and Fabric. There were things that I would be able to gather data on, usage statistics in my app. I could see what iOS, I can't really tell anything about the individual, right? But because that tracking data is in there, it's owned by Google. Google gets all that data, right? So I removed it because I'm really, I think customers are becoming more aware. I think the population is, and GDPR is just the first step. I think we'll probably see something similar to that in 10 years, maybe. But I'm trying to get ahead of it. Actually, on my website, and I'm going to show you this real quick. The latest Safari, we'll be pushing out this up here. It's a little shield, and it shows you what trackers are on your page, right, of whatever you're visiting, and it'll block them if you want them to. So you'll see GetPuck now has 0 on there. I have made the conscious decision to try and advertise, I guess, using old school methods. So it's going to be very challenging for me, but because I have a hardware product and I'm stepping into the medical world a little bit, HIPAA compliance and privacy are going to be of utmost importance. So that's what I'm doing differently. I'm still helping clients advertise, but I'm urging them to keep it in mind, limit the amount of cookies that you have on your website. I see a lot of folks, big institutions, if they did a radio ad or they're having an ad firm do it, they leave those pixels or that advertising firm's code on their website, which means that advertising firm is getting your web data ad nauseum forever, and they're able to sell that. So I think it's important for everyone to understand, where the data is going and what other people are doing with it. So. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. I really enjoy talking about this. I, again, hope that, you've been able to just at least get an understanding, an overview of it. And I encourage you all to explore this. This is a really good guidebook to get started in this area. And I'm always available if anybody wants to reach out and discuss more.
I have one quick question still. This is Sarah. Sure. Thank you so much for your presentation. Can you tell us really quickly what is Puck? I saw your website there, but like, what is it?
Yes, do some shameless self-branding here. The puck it's actually invented several years ago, because my daughter had, used to mess around with the old school Apple TV remote and lose it. So I invented this it's a battery operated, it's very small. This is actually the device here. And a smartphone app, and it really turns your phone into a remote. So you'll see this, I'm able to control all the devices from this. In the last year, I've just been looking at the data and my emails and everything else, and looking at my support, and we realized that a lot of people with spinal cord injuries were using our app to be able to, really work with things in their home, environmental control, it's called in assistive technology. But a lot of people were using it there. So we're focusing, I'm redirecting my focus specifically to help people with mobility issues in Puck. So seeing some fascinating things. People have been using it with retina scanning glasses so that they can control their TV, every aspect of it, which are things that they were never able to do prior, to their injury. So that is what Puck is. It's a universal remote. We have about 350,000 different codes available for it. I'm getting ready to release the next version, which has a smartwatch battery, so you don't have to change the battery anymore, and a USB-C plug-in. It's going to have a firmware update. So once you program the Puck, it will broadcast out what it is. So your next user, if you want to let them, can just open the app and it brings it up. So there's no more programming of stuff. You can, it's more like a physical remote. So.
Very cool. Well, thank you for joining us today and for your time and for this awesome presentation. We really appreciate it. I know you were booked a while ago, and then I think COVID happened. So we appreciate you rescheduling and being patient with us. So thank you so much, Barnabas. We'll give you a virtual round of applause. I see some comments, everybody's saying thank you. So that's really great. For anyone who's interested in our next program, it's scheduled for October 22nd. And then the next one after that will be November 12th. We'll put some more information on our website and on Facebook about those. But the October 22nd will be Rakisha Falan. She's kind of a local communications expert. She will be talking about how to help people give a better presentation. So she has a TED Talk kind of style to help us. I know a lot of us work in communications are coaching a CEO or other executives or making presentations themselves. So her tips will be really helpful in that kind of way. And then the November 12th presentation is a diversity inclusion presentation from Carla Caliger, I don't know how to say this. Caligeritis is, I'm guessing. But she will be presenting to us about diversity and inclusion. She recently met with Martin Luther King Jr. the third, I think, is who she met with, and has some really great insights on diversity and inclusion. So a very timely topic right now. So other than that, unless anyone else wants to put any other questions in the chat about AWC in general, if you're interested in joining us and becoming a member, we will have a fall membership drive, I think, coming soon. So we'll be posting more information about that and info on our website and on Facebook. So if you don't already follow us on Facebook, please do. Otherwise, thank you for your time, and we appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks so much, Sarah.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're going to end the meeting now.
All right.